Introduction: Israel crosses the Jordan River. 1405 BC. We now come to Volume 3, the book called Into the Promised Land. This will be a journey that takes us to the Jordan River. The children of Israel had miraculously crossed the Red Sea on dry ground, and now we see them getting prepared to cross the Jordan River on dry ground. We see Joshua sending men to spy out the city of Jericho, and there we meet Rahab, who became an ancestor of Jesus, the Christ. Find out what happened on the seventh day of Israel's march around Jericho and how they conquered the land of Canaan. Learn what part of Canaan, today Israel, was apportioned to each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel was commanded to teach the statutes and judgments to their children and grandchildren that they would learn to fear the Lord. Find out what happened when they did not teach their next generation the statutes and judgments of God. After the death of Moses, the Lord spoke to Joshua and told him that Moses was dead. Joshua was to cross over Jordan, he and all the people, to the land the Lord was giving the children of Israel. The Lord promised Joshua that he would be with him as he was with Moses, and he would never leave him or forsake him. Joshua was to be strong and of good courage, that he may observe to do according to all the law which Moses had commanded him. Joshua was not to turn from it to the right hand or to the left, that he may prosper wherever he went. The book of the law was not to depart from his mouth, but he was to meditate in it day and night, that he may observe to do according to all that was written in it. It would be then that the Lord would make his way prosperous, and it would be then that he would have good success. Joshua 1 verses 1, 2, 5, 6-8. Joshua commanded the officers of the people to go through the camp, and he commands the people to prepare provisions for themselves. Within the next 3 days, they were to cross over Jordan, to go in to possess the land which the Lord their God was giving them to possess. Joshua 1 verses 10, 11. Rahab and the Hebrew spies. Joshua sent 2 men from Acacia Grove to spy secretly, and view the land, especially Jericho. They came to the house of a harlot named Rahab and lodged there. It was told the king of Jericho that men had come there that night from the children of Israel to search out the country. Therefore, the king of Jericho sent his men to Rahab, commanding her to bring out the men who had come to her house. She had taken the 2 Hebrew men up to the roof and hid them with stalks of flax, which she laid in order to prevent them from being captured. She saved the 2 men by telling her countrymen, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. It happened as the gate was being shut, when it was dark, the men went out. Where the men went, I do not know. Pursue them quickly, for you may overtake them." The countrymen went out, and the gate was shut behind them. They pursued the Hebrew men by the road to the Jordan and the fords. Joshua 2 verses 1-3. Before the Hebrew men lay down, Rahab went up to them on the roof, and said to them, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you, when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were on the other side of the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed." Joshua 2 verses 4-7. Furthermore, as soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted. Neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you, for the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now therefore, I beg you, swear to me by the Lord, since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house, and give me a true token, and spare my father, my mother, brothers, and my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. Joshua 2 verses 8-13. The Hebrew men answered Rahab, "Our lives for yours, if none of you tells the business of ours, and it will be, when the Lord has given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with you." Joshua 2 verse 14. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall. She told them to go to the mountain and hide there for 3 days until the pursuers had returned. Then they could go their way. Joshua 2 verses 14 to 16. The Hebrew men told her that they would be blameless of the oath of hers that she made them swear, unless, when they come into the land, and they see the line of scarlet cord she had bound in the window, through which she let them down. She had to bring her father, mother, sisters, brothers, and all their father's household to her own home. It would be that whoever goes outside the doors of her house into the street, his blood would be on his own head, and they would be guiltless. However, whoever is with her in the house, his blood would be upon their head if a hand were laid on him, and if she told their business, then they would be free from her oath, which she made them swear. Joshua 2 verses 17 to 20. She said to them, according to your words, so be it. Therefore, she sent them away and bound the scarlet cord in the window. Joshua 2 verse 21. The Israelite men departed and went to the mountain and stayed there 3 days until the pursuers returned. The pursuers sought them all along the way but did not find them. Therefore, the 2 Israelite men came down from the mountain and crossed over the Jordan, and they came to Joshua and told him all that had befallen them. They told Joshua that the Lord had truly delivered all the land into their hands, for indeed all the inhabitants of the country were faint-hearted because of them. Joshua 2 verses 21 to 24. Rahab. Scriptures say that Rahab's profession was prostitution. She was a harlot or prostitute of Jericho, and she may have rented out rooms. The Hebrew spies lodged at her house. Her house was on the city wall. She helped the children of Israel to capture the city of Jericho. She helped the Hebrew spies to escape being captured by the king of Jericho and saved them by hiding them on her roof under stalks of flax, which she had laid in order on the roof. In turn, she and her family, all her household, were saved from destruction when the Israelites sacked the city of Jericho. She bound a scarlet cord in the window, the same scarlet cord in which she let the 2 Hebrew men down with, and the oath that she made the Hebrew men swear, they abided by it. Rahab was a Canaanite harlot who became an ancestor in the lineage of King David and Jesus. She married into the tribe of Judah. She married Salmon, and they had Boaz. Their son Boaz is the same one who took Ruth as wife. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Nahshon was head of the tribe of Judah at the time of the wilderness march from Sinai to Kadesh Barnea. He was among the men of the tribes of the congregation, chosen to stand with Moses to be leader among his father's tribe, and head of a division in Israel. Numbers 1 verses 7 to 16, 7:12. Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, was the leader of the children of Judah. His army was numbered at 74,600 at the time the Israelites encamped by their standards. It was on the east side, toward the rising of the sun, those of the standard of the forces with Judah who camped according to their armies. Numbers 2 verses 3 to 4. Nahshon was also the first leader to offer his dedication offering for the altar when it was anointed on the first day. Numbers 7 verses 10, 11. Nahshon and his son Salmon, Salmon's wife Rahab, and Salmon's son Boaz are mentioned in the genealogy of Christ. Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon. Salmon begat Boaz by Rahab, Boaz begat Obed by Ruth, Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king. Matthew 4 to 6. Verse 15 and 16 says, Eliud begat Eleazar, Eleazar begat Matthan, and Matthan begat Jacob. Jacob begat Joseph the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. This tells us that the Lord's mercy and grace is not limited to a certain people. His grace and forgiveness extends to all nations of people who would accept his gift. Rahab accepted the God of Israel when she quoted, He is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Today, the Lord's gift is Jesus, His Son. We must believe in Jesus to be accepted into the family of God. As many as received Jesus, to them the Father gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in Jesus' name, who were born, not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. John 1 verses 12 and 13. Israel crosses the Jordan on dry ground. Joshua rose early the next morning and set out from Acacia Grove and came to the Jordan River. He and all the children of Israel lodged there, before they crossed over. It was after 3 days, the officers went through the camp, and they commanded the people that when they saw the ark of the covenant of the Lord their God, the priests, and the Levites bearing it, then they were to set out from their place and go after it. Yet there were to be a space between them and the ark. They were not to come near it, that they might know the way by which they must go, for they had not passed that way before. Joshua 3 verses 1 to 3. Joshua had the people to sanctify themselves, for the next day the Lord was to do wonders among them. He spoke to the priest and had them take up the ark of the covenant and cross over before the people. The Lord said to Joshua, "This day I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. You will command the priests who bear the ark of the covenant, saying, when you have come to the edge of the water of the Jordan, you will stand in the Jordan." Joshua 3 verses 7 to 8. Then Joshua had the children of Israel to come and hear the words of the Lord their God. By this, they would know that the living God was among them, and that he would without fail drive out from before them the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Jebusites. The ark of the covenant of the Lord was crossing over before them into the Jordan River. It was to happen, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests who bore the ark of the Lord, of all the earth, rest in the waters of the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan would be cut off. The waters that came down from upstream would stand still as a heap. Joshua 3 verses 9 to 13. Therefore, the people set out from their camp to cross over the Jordan, with the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before them. As the priests bore the ark and came to the Jordan, and the feet of the priests who bore the ark dipped in the edge of the water, that the waters, which came down from upstream, stood still, and rose in a heap very far away at Adam, the city that is beside Zaretan. The Jordan River overflowed all its banks during the whole time of harvest. Therefore, the waters that went down into the sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, failed, and were cut off, and the people crossed over opposite Jericho. Then the priests who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all Israel crossed over on dry ground, until all the people had crossed completely over the Jordan River. Joshua 3 verses 14 to 17. All the people had completely crossed over the Jordan River, and the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Take for yourselves 12 men from the people, 1 man from every tribe, and command them, saying, Take for yourselves 12 stones from here, out of the midst of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet stood firm. You are to carry them over with you and leave them in the lodging place where you lodge tonight." Joshua 4 verses 1 to 3. Joshua called the 12 men whom he had appointed from the children of Israel, 1 man from every tribe, and Joshua had them cross over before the ark of the Lord their God into the midst of the Jordan. Each one of them took up a stone on his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that it may be a sign among them when their children ask in time to come, saying, "What do these stones mean to you?" Then they are to answer them, saying, "The waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it crossed over the Jordan, and the stones were a memorial to the children of Israel forever." Joshua 4 verses 4 to 7. The children of Israel did as Joshua commanded and took up 12 stones from the midst of the Jordan according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them to the place where they lodged and laid them down there. Then Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests who bore the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there to this day. Joshua 4 verses 8-9. The priests who bore the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished. When all the people had completely crossed over, then the ark of the Lord and the priests crossed over in the presence of the people. The men of Reuben, the men of Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh crossed over armed before the children of Israel. About 40,000 prepared for war crossed over before the Lord for battle, to the plains of Jericho. On that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him, as they had feared Moses, all the days of his life. Joshua 4 verses 10-14. The Lord commanded Joshua to have the priests who bore the ark of the testimony to come up from the Jordan. When they had come out of the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of their feet touched the dry land, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place, and overflowed all its banks as before. Joshua 4 verses 15-18. The people came up from the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they camped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. The 12 stones, which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up in Gilgal. Then he spoke to the children of Israel, saying, When your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, And what are these stones? Then you will let your children know, saying, Israel crossed over this Jordan on dry land. The Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan before you until you had crossed over, just as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up before us until we had crossed over. This you will tell your children, so that all the peoples of the earth may know the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may fear the Lord your God forever. Joshua 4 verses 19-24. Thank you for listening to the introduction of the book Into the Promised Land from the book series It's All About Worship and To Whom You Worship by Doris N. Whaley Smith. The complete book in whole can be purchased on Amazon.com.